I'm Sarah Patterson. We are now coming to the business section of our segment today. Guy, thank you so much for being here. We've been having some debate in the studio about what it means to truly be a leader. How do you define leadership?
Thank you, Sarah, for having me here today. You are actually asking me a very difficult question. I don't think today there is a general agreed definition of leadership. And I'm convinced that if you ask 10 people to provide you with a definition of leadership, you will have 10 different definitions. What makes it even harder is that leadership, or the concept or the idea we have about leadership, has been evolving with the changes in the environment. Changes like changes in society, changes in the economical context, changes in the political environment, to list a few. As an example, the traditional perspective of leadership was to identify a certain traits and attributes that a person should have to be placed in the position of a leader. And the current tendency is actually to focus on the relationship between a follower and a leader. So basically, to have leadership, for leadership to happen, you need to have at least two people. But yet, it's possible to come up with a definition of leadership, and I believe to do so, 5 points should be considered. The first point is that leadership is a dynamic process, which means that a set of activities, of actions have to take place for leadership to emerge, to be maintained, or to be reconsidered. The second point is that the leader should, in full consciousness, be willing to influence others. The third point will be a follower should be completely free to decide or to want to put himself under the influence of somebody else. If you force a follower to follow a leader, we cannot really talk about leadership. And the fourth point is that leadership, the relationship between the follower and the leader, should aim to reach a goal, an objective. And this notion of goal is very important. The last point that I will mention is that the relationship between the follower and the leader happens in a defined situation, which means that if the situation changes, the relationship also can change. In some cases, the leader can become the follower, and the follower can become the leader. I know I haven't given you a definition of what leadership is, but it's a very difficult task. But I believe that these 5 elements should be considered when someone tries to come up with a definition of leadership.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your explanation and for being here with us today.
Thank you to you, Sarah.
I'm Sarah Patterson. We'll see you next week.